Sean. Obviously, this is seen as the biggest fight week of your career, but I'm curious, as you land in Boston, you're going through fight week, does it feel that much bigger, or is this, hey, I've done this before and I know what to expect?
Feels very similar to my last few fights. I feel like all my last few fights were big deals, especially that Peter fight. So this feels, very similar.
You've been a guy who has envisioned his own career, sort of every step that you've taken. You've seen it and then you've done it. How cool is it, however, to actually see yourself on billboards around town knowing that you're fighting for a world title?
Yeah, I've been getting, saying this a lot lately, but it just feels like it's meant to be right now. It's like, this is my time. I've seen this kind of playing out over my career. I said before, I even fought Alfred on the Contender Series that, I'm going to be that dude. I'm going to be fighting, main events, world titles, pay-per-views, and now it's here. So it's not like a big surprise to me. I knew I'd put in the work, beat the guys I needed to beat, and I'd be here. But yeah, it's still really cool to see, on the billboards and, main event. It's awesome.
I wanted to touch on something you said there. Alex Volkanovski gave his breakdown of this fight the other day, and he said something interesting. He said, sometimes when you're watching a fighter's story, it just sort of feels like there's a way it's meant to go. And he says, like, hey, Aljamain on paper looks like he wins this fight, but something about you has this sort of like momentum, and this is where we're headed. Do you feel that way going into Saturday night? Like there's kind of a touch of destiny, like I'm meant to win the world title here, so I'm just going to go out and do it?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said no. It definitely feels like it's playing out that way, but I still have to get into an octagon with Aljamain Sterling, the best bantamweight of all time, and do that magic. I still have to go out there and perform and do what it's all kind of looking like it's supposed to happen. I'm going to go out there and put his lights out. I still got to go out there and do it. And I'm 100% capable of that, and that's where I get that confidence from.
You've mentioned that he's the greatest bantamweight in UFC history a few times in the build-up to this. I think you might be the first person to outright come out and say it. I think everyone's saying he's one of. What do you think the distinction is that makes him the best of all time?
Who's better?
I guess the argument would be Dom Cruz.
I don't see it.
Fair enough. Is this a wrestler versus striker match that everyone says it is?
Yeah, hard to not say that one. I do see that. Striker versus grappler matchup is a very accurate way to, even if you look at statistically speaking from all of our fights, this is a striker versus grappler matchup. I am going to keep it on the feet. He wants to take it to the ground. It's no secret.
Is the only way you can win this fight by knockout, or can you beat him over decision by just playing it long, keeping him rangy, and not letting him get his hands around your way?
Yeah, 100%. That is a possibility. I go into every fight with the mindset of two things. I want to put this dude's lights out, but I'm also mentally, physically prepared for 25 minutes. So me winning a decision there's possibility to that.
The hair color, obviously you always try and associate it with what's going on. Can you please talk us through the multicolored blessing we get today?
Yeah, I'm doing the Sweet Sweat collab. I'm sure you guys seen my name on the octagon, bright pink. But yeah, I'm doing a Sweet Sweat collab, and this is kind of the colors of the packaging. So that's kind of where we got that inspiration from.
Nice. Last one from me. If Aljamain Sterling is the best bantamweight of all time, you beating him on Saturday, what does that make you?
I'm not good at math, but you basically just said it.
Sean, over here to your left. So LJ has been saying a lot lately that the UFC gave you a year so you could prepare and get better at your grappling, your wrestling, and all that. What's your response to that?
Yeah, they said, hey, Henry's going to fight Aljo. I said, all right, cool. I'm going to, I wasn't not hurting for money like some of these guys have to turn around and fight again real quick. I'm balling. So I was like, all right, sweet. I'll, take this time, improve, enjoy life, and I'll fight when the time's right. August 19th in Boston sounds like, sounds like a good time.
When you faced off with him after he beat Cejudo, you said you better be better than that. But this week you've kind of changed a little bit, saying you're really impressed with his skills in that. So why the change?
Well, I do. His skills are. He's beat the guys he's beat. Beat TJ. Beat Henry. Beat Peter. Beat Corey. Like the guy is. There's no. He's as good. He's that good. I'm just saying he better. There was a lot of mistakes, a lot of opportunities. Henry's. He's like this tall. He was cracking him. I think he landed a head kick. I think he hopped up and landed a head kick. So I'm just saying you better not. Make those same mistakes against me, because I will put your lights out. I snipe people.
One of the things that been talked about is that he's defended the belt, he's fought for the title, he's fought main events, he's fought 25 minutes, all things that you really haven't. So obviously he's looking at as a big advantage. I'm sure you're disagreeing with that. Talk about that.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that. If he's fought 5-5s and he's, I haven't fought 5-5s. There's probably, you could say, an advantage to have doing that before. That's, my plan is to not even let it get to that point. But yeah, technically he's done that. I haven't. Probably be an advantage.
Well, with the extra 2 rounds, how you change your training just to make sure you can go 25?
Add 2 rounds to everything. It's it's basically like getting in 2 fights in one night. So adding 2 rounds to sparring, strength and conditioning, hitting mitts, grappling, just adding those extra 2 rounds. Sucks, by the way. 5-5s is not fun.
And my last question, obviously, you have a huge fan base. I'm assuming in Boston, last name O'Malley, you have a lot of fans. But of course, with that, top guys also have the people who don't like him. A lot of people saying you shouldn't have won your last fight, or you didn't deserve this. You win, you're the champion. What's your response to those guys?
I don't really have a response to them. I'll probably, try to defend my title in December in Vegas. That's, I don't really care what people say. It doesn't really affect me. I like kind of being the underdog, being doubted. Going into this fight, I don't really have much pressure on my shoulder. He's the bantamweight GOAT. He's on a 9-fight win streak, and he's saying I haven't even earned this shot. How stupid will he look when I go out there and knock him out, and not even have earned being in that position and putting his lights out? Makes him look real stupid.
Over here, Sean. Considering that win or lose, it is known that there's a possibility Aljo leaves the division. How do you think this changes the landscape more specifically if you win, and also considering that other people like Merab will now be able to fight for a title since he had that whole non-fight thing with Aljo?
Yeah, I go out there, knock him out. He moves up to 45. Boom, I carry on what he was doing in the division, taking people out. He goes out there and wins and moves up to 45. I'm the last person to fight for the belt. I'm the champ either way. So I like this situation. It's a win-win for me.
Can I ask, from an analyst standpoint, what are your thoughts, and leaving any animosity on the side, what are your thoughts on the Chito Vera and Pedro Munoz fight, and how do you see that fight developing?
God, I want to be it'll be exciting, but I'm just, for some reason, I feel like it's going to be so boring. I feel like it's just going to be, Pedro kind of not wanting to engage on the outside, trying to kick his legs. Cheeto's, we saw his last performance against Corey. I'd like to, there's a possibility it could be a very exciting fight. I just don't, I feel like it might be really boring.
Do you see, who do you see winning?
I'm hoping Cheeto wins. Me versus Cheeto rematch, December, Vegas, title defense. That sounds wonderful. I love that. So ideally, Cheeto.
Thank you.
Sean, over here. Aljo had said recently that you guys made a $100 bet on who shoots the first takedown. Is that
who
true?
Who gets the first takedown?
Or who gets the first takedown? Oh, really?
Yeah.
When did that? How did that all develop, and what made you so confident in taking that bet?
He messaged me. Well, I messaged him on Instagram when I saw him at the fights in Tennessee. He was looking a little nervous on camera, so I just let him know, "Hey, dude, saw you. You weren't looking too good." And he said, "I want to make a bet. First one to get takedown gets $100." And then $100 is a lot of money to him. So for me, I fucking sneeze out $100. So he was, I'm sure it made him a little excited.
When you say that you saw nerves on television, what made you think that, and is that necessarily a bad thing heading into a big fight like this?
No, I don't really think he looked nervous. I just message him. He looked the same. But yeah, no, I don't know if he's nervous. I know he's worried about the unknown. You got to be a little bit going into a fight. You just don't know what's going to happen. But you've seen how I've knocked people out. You don't want to be on the other end of that. You don't want to. That changes people's careers when you get knocked out that way. You're like, man, I didn't really know people could be that fast. It's possible.
Bantamweight's always been like a super deep and loaded division, and it's co-main evented a lot. It doesn't often get the main event slots. It's happened a couple times this year, but considering the rich history in this division and how deep it's been, is this, in your opinion, the biggest bantamweight title fight of all time?
Yeah, it's hard for me to gauge how big this fight is being in the main event. Usually all my fights feel pretty big. as just a fan, taking myself out of it, and usually I can get a good idea. Like if there's a pay-per-view, I'm like, this one's I'm watching the embed, I'm excited. And then there's some pay-per-views I'm not really, so it's hard for me to be on the other end of that and see how big this one is. But yeah, so I don't know.
Sean, real quick over here. Regarding you wanting Chito to win and hopefully that'd be your first title defense in December, is it just because, that is the only loss on your record, or is there something more to that?
It's just the rematch needs to happen. Everyone, even Chito himself truly knows that wasn't a win. So I think that's just, it comes down to who else would it be, really. Like, I've always wanted to get that one back, and they're like, why don't you rematch him right away? And I'm like, oh, I'll do it when the time is right. But the only reason I would give Chito that title shot is because it's who else would it be? Merab's out, Corey's out. Who else would it be?
And then to keep the train going for according to like the pay-per-view buys and whatnot. This event, are you excited? This is your first UFC main event as far as like a pay-per-view goes. Are you excited to kind of prove your star power and put it to a test to see like how it does and how it does with you as a headliner?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely going through my mind. Is kind of like that I've always wanted to be, and I've said it a lot early on, a pay-per-view king. And I don't necessarily think this one's going to do the most insane numbers. It's not quite there yet. It's building. We're on track for that. I think this one will do very, very well. Aljo's best pay-per-view. It's just got to beat Henry versus Aljo, which, come on. But I think this one will do really, really well. I think me versus whoever I fight in Vegas will do insane.
Thank you.
Sean, right next to him. You mentioned the hair and the sponsor, but you're very introspective. Like, how long does that process take when they're doing it? And is that just a chance for you to think? Do you think about fighting? Do you decompress and not think about it? Are you talking on your phone? What's that process like?
A little bit of everything. The first day was about 4.5 hours. So, yeah, I'm, watching some YouTube videos, doing some business calls, breathing, just kind of chilling. And then the next day, 2.5, 3 hours. So a little bit of everything, chit-chatting here and there. But yeah.
Do you visualize the fight, or that's not the time for it?
Sometimes I don't really necessarily pick times to visualize the fight. Like if you start thinking about it a little bit, get into it. But yeah, I might not have. I don't know.
On a lighter note, Aljamain was out here earlier that we talked about 288 when Merab had your jacket on. I know it's an intense moment, but looking back on it, do you see some humor in that, or was that something you didn't find funny?
No, I thought it was silly. I didn't recognize Merab. How funny is that? I thought he was just a fucking worker. I handed Merab my jacket. Like, that's hilarious. I didn't know who Merab was. That's funny. I find it very funny.
Thank you.
And Sean right here on your right. Going off of that, it sounds like Merab put out something yesterday saying that he's back training, like indicating that he could be ready for a fight soon. So going off of what you just said about Chito, like is the Merab fight, and given your history with the jacket and everything, like are you interested in that fight or?
If you asked me what fight was bigger, me versus Chito rematch or versus me versus Merab, I'm pretty sure we could all agree on which one's bigger. I'm in the fight business. I've been saying that. I've never been afraid to say that. This is a business to me. Who makes more money, me versus Merab or me versus Chito? It's very simple to me.
And it seems like a lot of the people that are detractors of you, critics of you, kind of take exception to that. They're like, oh, he's not necessarily won, 5 top 10 fights and stuff like that. But hearing you up here, you're talking about how there's no weight on your shoulders, how you're happy financially, you're doing well. So do you think people just have the wrong idea about like what you're doing to get to this point?
Yeah, everyone that's talking a little bit of shit is all broke. Like those guys are just not rich. You know what I mean? It's simple. They're just jealous. There's nothing other than jealousy coming from their lips.
And last thing, just stemming off of that, what kind of advice would you maybe give to younger fighters who would be put in a similar position on Contender Series? How do they maximize that sort of that path, something similar to what you did?
I'd say make sure when you get these managers' contracts, you guys read them and look through them, have a lawyer look through them. Don't just sign just because these guys say I can get you in the UFC. They're taking 20% of your purse. They're taking your win bonus. They're taking your fight bonus, performance bonus. I would be very, very skeptical on signing their contracts. You could sign with a manager, but make sure you have stuff in there, that's fair to you, because none of these contracts are fair to the fighters, and these managers know that these fighters aren't going to read it. We're fighters for a reason. So I would be very, very careful with these guys that are really close to the UFC.
Sean, I just want to go off that. You've obviously made a statement recently that MMA managers are no good, and you're going to prove that. Has a specific incident happened that makes you want to pick up this cause, or is it just you've felt this way for a long time and now you're fighting for a title? It's the profile to do it.
No, there's been a couple instances, more recent, yeah. I feel like I could, if we wanted to get into that subject, then I'm going to release it all kind of when the time is right. But yeah, mostly just being careful with these guys. They're not good at their jobs. They'll manipulate you, and I want to say more. I do, but we'll save it for the right time.
I'll leave it with one more then, just because if you wanted to save it for the right time. Do you think it's a problem that it's like a low barrier to entry? Anyone can be an MMA manager, so they're just not necessarily skilled in the workplace? Or is it that a lot of these guys, through their job, have just become too close to promotion and as such cannot represent the fighter as effectively as possible?
A little bit of both. You meet scumbags in all levels of life. You could be broke and you could have broke scumbag friends. You could have a lot of money and then those rich, there's high-level scumbags out there. And they're good at being scumbags. They're good at that. And yeah.
Sean, so obviously your backstory is very fascinating. You're originally from Montana, and MMA is pretty scarce there. Not a lot of guys coming out of Montana. Big moment for you this weekend. Just as you get to kind of reflect on your journey, how were you able to do it? Like, what was the biggest catalyst for you to get to this point?
Yeah, I remember when I was 16 years old, I just went and started kickboxing, boxing, and just kind of sparring. And just kind of had this natural ability. And I think some people are truly born knowing how to fight. And I found that, and I became obsessed with it. And I don't even remember your question, but yeah.
Just that path and journey, and finding the right way, and just was it kind of your passion for the sport? Like, is that maybe what was your biggest reason to get to this point? You would maybe credit.
Yeah, before I found fighting, I wanted to be in the NFL because I wanted to be rich and famous. Realized real quick that I was 5'11", 100 pounds. So I realized that wasn't realistic. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then I found fighting. I'm like, this is it. I'm going to be, I'm gonna make money. This is how I do it. And it's literally all played out damn near perfect.
Being from Montana, do you carry any pride just knowing where you come from? And just like I said, there's not a lot of guys coming from there. You and Tim both are kind of making it right now. Do you carry any pride just knowing that that's where you guys come from? Yeah,
I think being from Montana was a huge role. I mean, even just like my first couple coaches early on, Johnny Aho would, tell me if I had to fight GSP, I'd beat him. And I was delusional. I'm like, hell yeah, I would. So I was knocking people out at an early age at 16, 17, 18. I was all in Montana fighting. There was, times I fought 3 times in a month, So we were, and being in Montana, they didn't have a commission. We could fight, like I said, 3 times a month. We could kickbox, then go to an MMA fight. It was a little bit sketchy in a sense, but we could fight all the time. So you don't see that anymore. You don't really see that from these different promotions. And I was, So being from Montana was a massive part of my career. I gained a ton of confidence down there, gained a ton of experience. I had 14 amateur fights, and then I moved to the lab, and people were like trying to get their second amateur fight. And I was, had so much experience, which definitely gave me a huge advantage.
You have a lot of fans, obviously, kind of globally, but just that support you get from Montana, is that pretty special to you?
Yeah, it's where I'm from. I grew up there. It kind of molded who I was, being from Helena, Montana. It's a small town. I thought it was a good place to grow up.
You and Tim, obviously, being from there, and your guys' relationship is so interesting because coach and fighter aren't always best friends, but you guys seem to be. Just, what can you say about what he's done for your career and just your relationship?
Yeah, and again, it's crazy how my life's played out. The fact that Tim came back to Great Falls to commentate a fight card because he was already in Bellator at the time, and I was on the fight card. And he had watched me fight when I was 16 years old, and I didn't meet him, but he came back to commentate a fight. And I was fighting this college wrestler, and I armbarred him. And I knew literally one armbar off my back, a basic armbar. And the dude took me down, was beating me up, and I armbarred him. I felt his elbow pop. And that was when Tim approached me at the after party, and he said, hey, if you want to come down to Phoenix and train at a real gym, you can come. I called him the next day. I'm like, hey, I got my flight booked. And he's like, whoa, chill. But that just meeting Tim, and then obviously what he's done for me in my career is just, it's crazy to think about.
Last one for me is just obviously your family, and you mentioned Johnny Aho, some of your old coaches in Montana who've been there kind of since day one. Your siblings working with you as well down in Phoenix. Just what have they all meant throughout this journey? Your family, your old coaches, just what can you say about their impact on you?
Yeah, I moved to Phoenix. I was there for like 7-8 years before my family came down, and you know, I had made enough money to where I basically said, hey, like, you guys can move down. You got somewhere for you to stay. I can employ you, and you know, I got pretty much my entire family down there. My dad's the last one staying in Montana, but we're gonna get him down there. But yeah, it was really cool to be able to be in this position to give them opportunities to move out of, you know, Helena, Montana. I feel like just moving out of the state you're from is important in life.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean, over here.
Hey, Sean, how are you? What do you expect the pop to be for you on Saturday night? I know this is your first time in a pay-per-view main event, but have you felt any buzz in the city, and what are you expecting from a fan reaction when you make that walk?
Yeah, for me, it's very important that I come out calm. That energy, I'll store it in my veins, and I'll let it loose when I need to. But you know, it's important for me to be calm mentally, physically. My mind can be calm but sharp at the same time, ready to snipe him in the chin. But yeah, when I make that walk, it'll be, you know, I'll use that energy, I'll store it inside of me, and I'll use it when I need to.
And Mario Batista talked about your strong work ethic when he was up here earlier. How special would it be for both of you guys to come away with wins on Saturday night? And do you have anything to say about Mario as a teammate?
Mario is the fucking man. One of the coolest dudes, hardest working guys, and it breaks my heart that Cody Garbrandt had to pull out because Mario, you know, earned that big name. Yeah, Cody's on a 16-fight losing streak, but it would have still been a really good win to go out there and put his lights out, which he would have. Mario would have dominated that fight. But I'm glad they were able to find him someone. But they couldn't say enough good things about Mario. Just like, we both moved to Arizona around the same time as amateurs and kind of turned pro around the same time, got in the UFC, kind of doing our thing. So to see Mario on the same card is awesome. Marcus just won, another training partner of ours. Kyler won the week before that. We got a bunch of killers at the MMA lab in Tim's gym in Arizona. We got a good squad, but yeah, Mario's the man.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean, right here. Right here. So Aljo was in here earlier, and he kind of took a jab. He said, you know, if I get the win on Saturday,
the only jab he'll throw on me.
Maybe I'll go out there and celebrate my victory by drinking a couple of Happy Dads, and maybe the Milk Boys will celebrate with me and not Sean O'Malley. I know the boys have flown in to see you this week. You guys have done the pod, so I just wanted your thoughts on that comment.
I'll be there too, baby. Win or lose, we booze. Johnny Manziel, right? No, yeah, I'm not, you know, this isn't, it's, you know, if Aljo goes out there and beats me, what am I going to be mad at him? This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go out there and fight. I'm not, I know I have this a thing around me. I don't know how to lose. I don't accept losses. It depends, you know, how it happens. He goes out there and beats me fair and square. There's no, you know, I'm not going to be mad at him. There's no, it's not like that. So, yeah, I mean, if he wants to party with the boys, we'll go party with the boys. Maybe I'll knock him out when he's drunk. No, shucks. Yep. Thank you, guys.